There's so many more people talking about AI and automation now, but the reality is they don't actually understand what it takes to automate your business to not only make you more money, but make it run better. So in this video, I'm going to run you through a talk that I've done in front of 50 entrepreneurs about how to automate the shit out of your business. So let's get started. If you're wanting to see if your business is ready to scale, I've got a systems scorecard that I've created. It'll give you a score on how your company's based. Click the link below down for the scorecard and take the quiz. It will take you 5 minutes. There's a lot of people who create clickbait content and content to try to show you how you can automate every part of your business and how you can use AI to do the exact same thing. But the majority of them are just talking complete crap. Now, the reason for that is because they're making it seem as though the things that you're doing are going to save you plenty of time. But if you don't have a business that already runs pretty well and you don't understand what you're trying to do with it, most of the automations that you do and most of the stuff with AI is going to be completely pointless for you. Not in the sense that it won't give you things there, but it's not going to give you what you actually need to make your business more profitable and more successful with what you're trying to do. So I'm going to take you through how to automate the shit of your business and how to build one that actually works without you. So I'll take you through it and we'll talk through a good few points of how we're actually going to do this and how we're going to run through it. But let's just get started with it. If your business can't run for 2 days without you at all, you probably don't have a business. You have a job with stress. Now, the majority of us are going to be in this position. You all started this business, you all started entrepreneurship to probably get out of what you were doing before. So it might have been a job, it might have been another business that you were running, but you usually started this to do that. And that means that you're going to be the center of everything. So you are literally going to be the center of your business, of your work, of your life, of all of it, every firefight, every strategy, every task. The issue with that is that over time, you are just solely going to become the bottleneck of your business. And if you don't understand how to actually take steps to improve this, you are going to be consistently working 16-hour days for the rest of your life. Now, maybe some of you watching this video think that's actually what I want. That's what I'm wanting to do. That's what I'm wanting to achieve. But I think for the majority of you, you probably want a life where you have a little bit more time freedom. You can spend it with family, friends, doing things you love. And it's not to say you can't love what you do, but it is important to understand that you probably don't want to do that for the rest of your life, and therefore we want to figure out ways to actually improve that so that you don't just have a business that is actually really just a job where you work more, have more stress, and you earn less money. Here's the problem, right? There's a reason why automation actually breaks most businesses. There's 3 reasons I'm going to cover, but there are usually more. And the sort of first reason is that there's no clear process. So people want to automate and people say that they want to automate, but they don't know how their business works. So they're talking about automating their whole delivery process, automating their onboarding process, creating something that's actually really powerful. And yet they have no idea what their processes are. They'll have tools duct taped together. So you might be running a business right now where you have about 50 different tools, all doing like one little thing. None of them ever talk to one another. None of them ever help one another out. You are just bouncing between them all, hoping that you're using the right thing. And if one thing goes wrong, 45 other things will go wrong as well, because all of your systems are not actually working cohesively. All of them are sort of working against one another in a way, but you're not able to automate any of that because none of the tools are actually working together as one. And finally, you still make all the decisions. So if you try to implement automation and you're the one making all of the decisions and you don't have other people sort of helping you, whether that be like a GPT or an AI bot helping you do that sort of stuff, if you are solely the one making all of the minuscule decisions, not meaning the strategy, the bigger picture, I'm meaning the person that's actually making all of those little decisions constantly, then automating your business by not having these other areas clear, you're absolutely screwed from the beginning. I'm going to take you through a client example so that you can get a sort of real-time view of what I'm meaning when we actually talk about this and when we're actually using this to our advantage and how to do this properly. So I worked with a business that is a coaching company. They work in America and they're fantastic what they do. They have an amazing team. They have an amazing offer. They do really well for themselves, a range between 90 and 140K a month. So they do fantastic what they're doing. However, when I first came into the business, this is what I saw. It was spreadsheets after spreadsheets. And a lot of the times the information was never being used or had never been used once when they were actually taking the data. Most of it was filled in manually, None of the team really knew what was going on because they were all doing different parts. So therefore, when transfers happened to another person in the team, it was kind of more a Hail Mary and hoping that it worked. And if something got missing, then it just became a manhunt for all of it. Now, they used other apps as well, because obviously you have to, but they started to transition into other areas. And this is what I saw to begin with. And I thought this is going to be brutal because you've got so much information, not only one, because you're not using the information. So how are we actually going to improve it? But two, it's just all over the place. The first thing that you need to start with when you're looking at automating your business is clarity. And that might sound dumb because you're thinking, well, Andrew, you're talking in this video about automating your business and bringing in automation, and yet here we are talking about clarity. And it could sound like fluff, but I promise you, this is the most important thing for anyone's business. If you don't have clarity on what you're doing, you are going to constantly build in the wrong direction. So let's take two examples, right? We've got client one and client two. Client one wants to exit their business and client two wants to be the CEO with 100 employees. Now, if both of them don't actually understand where they want to take their business, then how are we going to create processes that can be automated to allow them to actually move toward that? I said the two quite a lot there, but how are we actually going to get people to that point if we don't know where the hell they want to go? So we first need to understand really, really well why we're doing any of this. Because if we are wanting to exit, we need to position the business in a way that it can completely run without us. And if we are wanting to be the CEO with 100 employees, we need to understand how we can get these processes nailed down so well that anyone could come in the next day and they could do it, and they could do it well. That there's processes, that there's systems, that there's clarity, that there's training. There's so much things that you have to do. And this is exactly what I started with when it came to this company. We had to first understand what the hell was going on and the clarity that we gained. Because that's when you can move into these new areas. And this is the process, centralize, and automate. And this is the steps that you're going to need to follow for any business that you run or any business you want to run in the future to actually automate your business the way that you're wanting to. AI and automation is becoming more prevalent. More people are using it, but most people are still using it wrong. So if you learn this now, it means you're going to save yourself months of work, of having to slow down your marketing, of having to slow down everything that you're doing, because you now need to get back to the basics of the foundations of what you're doing. So if you follow this, you will be able to do that. First, what we done was we mapped those processes. So we took it directly from the lead coming in to offboarding a client. What does that actually look like? What does that whole thing look like from when a lead comes through the door to when you're offboarding that client? Every single step. No step is too small in this. Even with some clients that I've done or the company I worked with in the past, I put in bubbles, what we actually text clients in certain areas. So when they onboarded, what text did we usually send them, and give them templates of different texts that we would usually send. Or when it came to messages about wins or check-ins of how they're actually getting on, we would have multitudes of messages that we would send, and we would have all of these in that delivery process. And if you saw some of my videos on socials, you'll see mine as well. It's the exact same. You're wanting to create a process that anyone could look at visually and be able to follow along step by step to see what's actually happening, what's actually going on. Next, we brought it into one centralized place. So Notion is what we used for this one. You could be using Airtable, ClickUp. There's plenty of other places that you can use. You find a platform that does 80% of what you want, move forward with that. You do not need to overcomplicate this. I've used Notion for the last 7 years. It's why I usually lean towards it. You can use really whatever comes to your mind. Airtable can be really good for data, especially if you're moving forward with that. By centralizing everything, we got everything into the one area rather than 65 Google Sheets, different notes and tasks everywhere, communicating on different platforms. We just got it into one key area. If we have it in one area, it makes it so much easier to actually track how the business is doing and how we're getting on. We can use the sheets that are important. We can use Slack to communicate. There's plenty of things that we can do to actually make this run smoother. But what you'll find here is at no point did I mention automation. This was manually done to actually see how our business is running. This was manually done to actually lay out the foundations and centralization of our business. And then, and only then, did we automate the business. Did we start to bring in It was Zapier that they used, but you could use any that you're looking to do. Make.com, Zapier, NAN, there's plenty that you can use. But only then did we start to actually bring in automation. Because if we don't know the process, if we don't know what the outcome is going to be that we are wanting from this, and we don't know how that's actually going to be beneficial, why would we automate it? Why would we create something that is going to cause more problems? Because you might be thinking, okay, once I automate stuff, then I don't need to worry about it anymore. Shock, you do. Automation is not a one and done thing. You are going to be improving it, and you are also going to come up with errors when you do the automation. There's going to be times where things mess up and things don't work and things need to be tweaked and things need to be changed and things need to be updated. Automation isn't just this one and done and you're out the door and all of your business is automated. And that's why if you process drive everything that you're doing, you centralize things into one place and you understand how your business is actually delivering, that's when automation can be really, really powerful. And that's why by following these steps, you are going to be able to understand that. Now, another really cool thing that we can actually do with this, and another thing to understand about this, is that when you do this whole process of laying everything out, you're going to notice where you are not doing so well in your delivery. So it might be that your onboarding takes a really long time, or it might be that you don't check in with your clients enough because there's certain points where you've found a fall off or a drop off in your client's data or a drop off in your retention at certain points in your delivery. And this is going to show those red flags of what you're doing that you can then focus on improving so that your offer, so that your delivery is, again, top notch, one of the best in your industry. But that's why when we get to this point of automation, having this nailed down and actually being really good is so, so important. Because if you don't have this, then you're going to be screwed from the beginning. There's no point of automating a business that's shit. Why would we automate a business that is absolutely crap? It's only going to cause you more problems. It's not going to actually solve the problems you're looking to solve. It's not really about saving time. That's what I want you to think about automation for. It's not that whole thing about saving time. It's actually about building a business that can run without you. Now, time is going to play a factor in that. That's why you kind of implement AI and automation, because time in that sort of area you can then spend on the higher leverage stuff, the strategic thinking. And this is why like the small little details are really important to understand, because when you automate them, you do want it to save you that time. But what we're really trying to do here is we're trying to build a business that can run without you. Build a business that if you stepped away for 2 days or you get sick or you got unwell, that someone could follow a process to help you out, or one of your employees could do that, or one of your AI agents, if you've built those, can also do the heavy lifting for what's going on. Because there's going to be times where you might be unwell, you might have a family emergency, or you might be thinking about, I'm potentially wanting to sell this business in the future. So if you're not thinking about that and you're not doing that early on, you're going to run into a whirlwind of problems when you get to a point of wanting to scale this business further. And that's why it's so important to look at this, because automation always starts with clarity. Knowing what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and then how that can be even better before we get to the automation is the most important part. It has to start with clarity. It has to start with what you're doing. So in order to gain that clarity, what we need to think about is a few things. First, what are the key stages in your business? So what are the key points that matter a lot in your business? What are the things that genuinely matter a lot when we're doing this? The second one are, where are the bottlenecks? So if you know where you're currently going wrong, it could be your outreach, it could be your marketing, it could be your delivery, it could be your retention, it could be your sales. Where are your general bottlenecks when it comes to this? If you're watching this video, I'm probably guessing systems is part of your problem. But this is where we need to figure out, well, where are our actual bottlenecks? What do we genuinely need to face to understand, okay, what's truly going wrong here so that we can solve it? And then finally, what tasks can be repeated daily or weekly? So something I recommend when we're doing this process mapping of that full delivery process, you have either like red sticky notes or a red label, whatever you do it, if you do it physically or on the computer, then what are the things that can be repeated really, really easily? Like what are the things are we doing on a consistent basis? Because we can often start with those little small minor tasks to make sure that they work really well, that when we come round to automating stuff, that becomes easier. Because you've now got it processed, you've got it mapped out, you understand how it works, and you've also made it as good as you can make it at this moment in time. Because things will always improve, things will always change, but at this moment in time, it can be that case. I'm going to run you through a framework that I've come up with. It's called the MCA framework, not the YMCA framework. I wish I could add a Y in there, but it's called the MCA framework, and it's going to take you through how you actually do this yourself, and you go away from this video and you follow along with this process. So if anyone's just noticed the amazing picture on the screen, one of the best games ever. I absolutely love Age of Empires. But for those of you who are staring at that screen thinking, Andy, what the fuck am I looking at? Let me explain a little bit why we're starting with mapping your flow. And that's step one. This is the M part of it. So at the top, you're going to see here, obviously, we've got the flow that can usually happen. We've got a lead to a sales call, payment, onboard, and delivery follow-up. We've got the kind of process that people will follow naturally when they are working with us or when they're actually a part of our business. But I want you to think about this as though it is a strategic game. Now, Age of Empires is a strategic-based game where essentially you start in an area like this, and then you build out your empire, you find your allies, you see where your enemies are, and you essentially want to conquer the full map. So you want to get up the new ages, you want to get better fighters, more villagers, and therefore are able to raise an army to overtake everything. Now, one of the first things that you do when it comes to your starting map is you'll see that everything else is blacked out around this little area. And you can see on the map down at the bottom that it's all blacked out as well. Now, this is because we currently don't have this part of the map unlocked. And therefore, we don't know where our enemies are and we don't know where our allies are. Now, in Age of Empires, when you start the game, you get a scout. And what you tend to do is you send your scout around the map to unlock the whole map. You start to allow the scout to see, okay, well, where are our allies? Where are our enemies? And this is exactly what you want to do within your business. You want to map your whole flow. You want to send that scout out and actually see how the business is doing. So where are the things that are truly holding us back? That would be your enemies. And where are the things that we're currently thriving in? And that's your allies. You're going to be able to understand where you're actually doing well and where you're not, where you have to pay attention to, and maybe where you can lean more towards because you're actually doing that quite well. And it's why it's so important to think about your business in this way, where currently you might just be seeing this part of your map, but you want to unlock all of it. And when you unlock all of it, it's going to be far easier to actually automate what you're doing and far easier to get to where you want to go. This is why we started with that 3-step process, the full customer journey, what is manual, and then what breaks first. Because you're going to be able to see, okay, well, what happens if I do go away from this business? What happens if I'm genuinely not here? What is going to break? What enemy is going to attack me first? And where do my allies actually lie? Because this is actually going to give you the data you need to see, okay, where do we need to improve? Where do we need to develop it? Now, the second step is to centralize it. As I was saying before, in that example that I gave with one of the clients I was working with, we have the before and after. You want to centralize as much information as you possibly can to keep it in one place. Now, this could be anywhere that you want. It does not matter where you keep this, but going to 60 different platforms to find different notes, ideas, calls, transcripts, structure, strategy, all of that sort of stuff, you can have it in one place. If you're using Notion like me, and you've maybe used it before, you'll know the capabilities of it. You can use that for tracking the majority of things in the back end of your business. Understanding all of your calls, your tasks, your strategy, you're working on the business, your SOPs, your notes, your call transcripts. There's so many things that you can have in there that all can go into the one place, and it can all stop you from having to go to 60 different places, have your team stopping to go from 60 different places and having no idea where to find stuff. You need to centralize what information that you've got. And if you're not doing this, you are going to land so many issues as you bring in more people, because you have to send them to different places all the time, new onboardings, new understandings of softwares. But by having as many as you possibly can in one area, as long as it does what you need it to do, it's going to be important. The less things that people have to understand and realize, the better you're going to get at this. And the easier that data and information is going to be, the easier it is for you to make decisions to make the business better. And finally, and again, as I said before, then and only then do we automate. Then and only then do we find out, okay, well, how do we actually improve this? And that's when we bring in automation. That's when we actually figure out, okay, how are we genuinely going to make this better by automating it? This is where we figure out how do we make the business improve further by doing automations. And that's what you should be really thinking about when it comes to this. Far too many people think that just AI and automation is like this overnight thing where you will instantly improve your business by doing so. You just won't. There's certain things that will truly improve your business, and there's things that will just waste your time. By knowing how your business runs and by knowing how you function, and also that you're doing it well, that's when we can automate better. That's when we can figure out how to do things on a better format. And that's why this is step 3 of the MCA process. By following these steps, you are going to figure out way more about what you should be doing, rather than just doing it for the sake of it or following along little trends that you think are going to be good. This is so important to actually look at and so important to figure out for yourself. I want to take you through an example of what this could look like if you were to get to the point where you've mapped all this process, you've centralized the area, and now you're wanting to automate it. So let's say a lead comes in, they're automatically sent an email to basically say, you know, amazing application, fill in these questions to actually do so. They're then automatically prompted to book in a call. So they then book in that call, they're sent all those reminders for what's going on and when the call is going to be or anything you need prior to that call. Once the call is done, you have a contract that's already ready that could be filled in through a form that you could fill in during that sales call. It could be something that they fill in themselves, and then a contract is sent to them with predetermined information based on the form that's been sent. That means the contract's over to them. You know, you don't have to follow up with them, and you've also got the contract sent over like that. Because one of the issues could be that you spend 3 days waiting on them to come back to you, and that means that you've now wasted the time for someone who's desperate to sign up for you and pay you right there and then. So we've now sent that contract over to them. They then sign that contract, an onboarding email is sent to them with a few information, videos that they can watch. They're then added to a Slack channel, and then they've got a dashboard that's automatically created on Notion for them so that you can start to keep track of all the calls that they're having and all the things that they're doing. And then there's automatic tasks that you need to do for anyone who's been onboarded so that you can make sure that you're over-delivering to every possible way that you can. So this is instantly allowing us to have 5 tasks that have been completely automated purely because we understand how we're delivering to our clients, and then how you can over deliver by knowing where your bottlenecks are. Because if you've found when you're doing that process that your onboarding isn't great, well, you're going to look at ways of how you improve your onboarding. Meaning when you get to a point where the onboarding is sent to them, they are blown away by what you can do and what is capable when this is actually happening. And why it's so important to follow all those previous steps that I was saying before we get to this point. Automation gives you back that time, that headspace and control that you're looking for. It's not something that's just going to happen overnight. It's something that will take time, but if you get that right to begin with, your foundations are going to get you moving 10 times faster than what your competition will move, because you've done the groundwork that they are not willing to do, because they see all the flashy shit and they think, oh, this is great, I'm going to just dominate the space. They're not. They're going to run into the first problem is that they automate their shite delivery process right from the get-go. And then when the delivery process is not delivering the way that they want to, they need to go back to their whole foundations, work on that before they can even automate it again. Whereas you start with the foundations, you get it to a good place, and then you automate it to get more of that headspace and control. You don't want to be known as a shit service. You want to be known that you're good at what you do, and therefore you have to start with the foundations. If you want to learn to scale your systems further, I've got a newsletter that will run you through a 7-day series on how you can scale your company through systems. I'll leave the link down below so you can go and check it out. So go away from this video, get that process mapping and delivery process laid out, move forward with that. On the screen, there's another video that's going to help you improve your systems. Go watch it. Go start taking action and go crush it.